Hi, I'm Randy Altman with Post Perspective. We're here with the Foundry's Matt Mazerolle.
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt Mazerolle. I'm the Director of Product for New Technology at Foundry. And my job is to help us bridge a lot of the work we do in our research team and funnel some of those projects into our product line. Foundry's always been recognized as an innovator in the industry, especially around tools for post-production. So I find working with the research team to be a really exciting thing. And we're always super delighted to be able to talk about what we're working on. And SIGGRAPH is always a fantastic opportunity for us to do that. So we're really excited to be talking about our machine learning tools. We recently launched Nuke 13 with a feature called Copycat. Copycat is a machine learning tool that empowers artists to create their own effects by training a machine learning model using frames inside of their shot that they're working on in post-production. So we think this is a really new approach to machine learning tools. Machine learning has become very popular recently through different tools for artists and workflows, but very often these are sort of canned or very kind of bespoke type of effects. Copycat takes a completely different approach where you can take literally any before and after image and train a model to recreate the relationship between your base training set. So we're going to be giving a talk about that with DJ, one of our production specialists, who is going to give a rundown of the basics of machine learning and how Copycat's applied. We also have a talk given by Jen Goldfinch about how to create a diverse workforce in a post-pandemic world. I think this is a really timely and interesting subject, something that I personally hold very dear to my heart. And I know Jen, who will be speaking there on behalf of Foundry as well, is very excited to be contributing to this discussion. So definitely something to check out. We're also doing an activity with Amazon, who recently launched a new service called Nimble Studio, which is really exciting. It's a studio in cloud that you can create on AWS. We have support for this tool. And we'll be showing some videos of how you can run a workflow using Foundry tools on Nimble Studio. So we think the power of the cloud, which gives you, just-in-time resources, elasticity of compute, storage, better security model, cost model, performance, all those things are really, really great. It kind of democratizes a lot of the complexities that big studios have built up over the years and that we've all come to take for granted. Well, now, Nimble Studio makes those things much more accessible. So we're excited to support that. And we're also doing a talk with Dell, supporting their new HDR monitor technology. So obviously, color science is something that is becoming a much bigger deal with OCIO and the ASIS standards. So I think this is really great as well. If colorimetry is something you're very interested in. So yeah, so that's in a nutshell what we have for SIGGRAPH.
So you guys are hitting some of the really big topics, your HDR, machine learning, remote workflows. Let's talk a little bit about that. How do you see that going forward? I mean, people are starting to get back into the studios, but I think there might be a hybrid model. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think that's really on point. There was a time before the pandemic where it was, there was a lot of talk about cloud, but not a lot of action. It was very, everybody was kind of on the cusp of, either figuring out whether cloud was an opportunity or whether it was just going to create more problems and complications, especially around a lot of established studio pipelines that were, just working really well and were very repeatable. And I think when the pandemic hit, everybody had to suddenly adapt in a very, very small amount of time. My kind of take and what I've heard from talking to a lot of different studios is, that adaptation was temporary. We went from, being at our desks in a studio to basically being at home, but still connected to the studio. It's not like studios suddenly moved to a cloud model or, fully distributed workforce in a pure sense, because, the length of the wire or the distance that you could have between your remote artists and the studio was ultimately, limited by the infrastructure being, people's broadband connection to the studio. It also created a bottleneck. Now studios suddenly had to have all this incoming traffic as people were, using the internet for that versus everything being kind of internal infrastructure. So I think what the pandemic's really done is it's caused people to think long term about how to make their studios more resilient. And part of the solution is to allow people to work from home and still access the studio. But I think people are realizing as well that they can now rethink this idea. Well, if people are going to be remote anyway, why don't we just move it out to the cloud and get that geographical reach and be able to find, say, specialists who are outside the studio, or be able to work more effectively with freelancers or sister studios or sister sites. And I think now we're starting to think more bigger picture about the cloud. And I think what it's going to end up with is being a kind of a hybrid type of situation where we'll still have on-premise infrastructure for a lot of the people working in or near the studio, but also a lot more resilience and flexibility where you're using the cloud to either burst out or get more geographical reach and find more specialists who can come and work on projects. The reality is, what I'm hearing from a lot of studios is there's more work than ever. It's just this different kind of work with a lot of episodic content, shorter form, that stuff's really taking off. And I think it's causing a lot of studios to think like how they can be more nimble. And a lot of folks who came out of the pandemic are also kind of going freelance and working on these shows, but they can't do everything. They need to work in collectives or almost like tribes and shape and reform very, very quickly around this work. But ultimately, there's a lot of work out there. And I think that's the forcing function that's driving everybody to invest in this new approach and this new way of thinking around remote work. And I think it's creating a lot of opportunity. It's creating opportunity for a more diverse set of people to participate in visual effects. Virtual production has hit really big. I think that's caused the relationships between visual effects specialists and other creatives like directors of photography, cinematographers to become much closer and have a much deeper basis. And I think a lot of these trends are actually the sustainable part of what I think we're going to see coming out of the pandemic.